Business Spotlight, brought to you by Cross Rhythms and Baba Baboon.
I'm Sonya Farrell. This is Business Spotlight in partnership with Cross Rhythms City Radio and Baba Baboon. Joining me in the studio this week, we've got the team from Purple Digital. We've got James Butler and Adam Morray. Hello, James.
Hi, you all right, Sonya?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Hello, Adam.
Hi, Sonya.
Hiding in the corner over there.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much for coming in on Business Spotlight, for joining us in the studio here at Cross Rhythms. Now, Purple Digital,
Yes.
I know you're based in Hanley. I know you're based down at Smithfield as well, which is in, the cultural sort of quarter as well within Hanley. But what is Purple Digital and how did it come about?
Right, okay. So, Purple Digital, we're a specialist recruitment agency. Mm-hmm. We specialise in the MarTech commerce space. We have a particular focus around the Adobe and Salesforce products, and we basically work with candidates and clients on a global scale.
Okay.
So I'll take you back a little bit to how it all came around. So me and Adam, we used to work together. You started a company straight out of university. It was both really our first proper jobs, if you like. So we worked together in the same team in the tech space. For a number of years, made some good money, and then it was, when was it, December 2023 I think it was, we went to a DMA's gig, had a few beers, started talking about work, and then got onto the topic of potentially setting up our own company.
Wow.
So had a bit of a chat about that, and then kind of left it at that on the night out, let the hangover settle, and then a couple of weeks later we kind of reconnected about it, and just kind of, I'd found a bit of a niche that I thought would be worthwhile building a business around. Spoke to Adam about it, and you were on board with it straight away.
Yeah, we've always worked in digital recruitment. So the first company that we were both together, we were in the same contract team. And then you left, I stayed, and then I think we both just came to a point where, what is the next step? Is it doing the same thing for somebody else, or is it actually like doing it for ourselves, getting a bit of freedom? And then obviously a couple of beers made that a little bit easier, didn't it? And then after Christmas, New Year, we got back together and we're like, right, let's get this sorted, and then the sort of planning went from there, really.
And starting off that as well, sometimes the best conversations do come when you're more relaxed and you're enjoying yourselves and everything. That creativity comes. But to take that leap as well, and start your own business can be quite scary. But, you launched, 2024? Mm-hmm. We're now going into the closing months of 2025. How's that journey been so far?
Well, now it's a lot easier. The first 6 months were tough, and I'm sure James is probably the same as me. There was some points in there where like, what have we done? We've gone from something we're still getting pretty decent money, relatively comfortable, both relatively decent companies, but we just thought, if we're not going to do it now, when will we do it? Will we regret it? And it was tough on it for 6 months, but it's got better. Yeah,
like when we first set up, we kind of knew that the market had taken a bit of a dip, but we kind of like wanted to set up and be ready for when the boom and when the spike come back. So it was a bit of a risk, but over the sort of last 18 months, we've built a really strong candidate and client base. And definitely the last 6 months has picked up quite a lot for us. And we've signed terms with some great companies, and we're now in a position now where when that spike does happen again, we're fully established and ready to deliver. So we've definitely made it work.
Yeah, and fair play to you, and huge congratulations on that as well, sticking with it and following, what was an idea, a dream, and now you're actually making it happen. But, going back to, yes, you had all that experience, like you said, in digital recruitment, but when you make a change from working from somebody else, and then you've got to take that role into running again your own business, that can be another challenge in itself, surely.
Yeah, I mean, we've both taken on parts of the role that we never did before. So for example, I'm trying to look after all the finances. I'm definitely not an accountant. I don't know much about that. We've been able to pull on a few people that we know locally as well to help us with stuff like that, on how to run a business, how to run the accounts. So that was tough, but we always knew that we had the network there and the relationships there that we could pull on eventually. And I think that's what's sort of come true over the past 6 months, hasn't it? Like, we've been able to build on them and pick up where we probably left off in our old companies as well.
Yeah, and I think as well, we wanted to build something with like a global reach. Obviously, we're based in Stoke-on-Trent, but obviously the thought of helping candidates and clients globally, down to our specialism was really appealing to us. I was doing quite a bit of research. I've been within our specialism for sort of the past 5 years, and there's only a handful of companies in the world that actually specialise, recruitment companies, and specialise in exactly what we do, which is quite unbelievable, really. So we just wanted to really capitalise on, not being many companies there and having a really great network within this space.
So talk me through it then. You mentioned, the specialisms and everything that you work in and the industry that you work in. But talk me through and really explain, someone who doesn't really probably know, and some of our listeners might not fully know how it works, but what is, and it might sound obvious, but what exactly is digital recruitment, and how does the process work?
So we're not, and obviously our name is Purple Digital, but we're not just digital. Obviously we do a lot. Our specialism is marketing technology, so MarTech. IT is just the way that the world is evolving. A lot of roles are becoming automated, and pretty much most roles are using IT in some way. The digital space, or the space that we sit in, is more like a digital experience, so what a consumer would see. So a lot of our time is spent within something that's called CMS, content management systems. These are something that probably 90% of people will have some interaction with on a daily basis. So when you get content sent to your phone, either through shopping, media, travel, that's all ran and managed and created through a CMS system. And that's what not only day-to-day people do, but big enterprise companies are really invested in.
Okay.
And Adobe and Salesforce are probably the two pioneers in that. So it made sense to focus on them because that's where the money is, and that's where the role is, and that's where the growth is going to be. So that's kind of how we've come about and the reason we've gone down that avenue.
So how is it then? How do you, obviously the businesses that you sort of work for, your clients, and if you're looking to bring in someone for recruitment for them, how do you find all these sort of exceptional professionals who are at the top of their game, who can actually go in and actually fill a position?
Yeah, so we do. So we use LinkedIn. We've got our own CRM system as well. So we've got a database that's specifically designed for our market, which we've got thousands of candidates on there. But we do a lot of headhunting. So we work with a lot of passive candidates or exclusive candidates. That's how we're a bit different to like other agencies or like internal teams. So we have access to people that don't advertise themselves on job boards or LinkedIn adverts because of our brand that we're building or we've built so far. Candidates and clients come to us because they know the types of people that we're working with and the networks that we've got within this space. That was another reason why we wanted to go down this route, because candidates in this space are really hard to find, and there's a real sort of shortage of talent across some of the products we focus in. And that's obviously where we can add value to companies looking to hire, or if they've invested in these products, because we've got access to people who can obviously fulfill these roles essentially.
And we spent a lot of time building them networks. Like we could probably, in our old company when we first started, we turned around to loads of different parts of tech. So we could easily do that, but we spent a lot of time building these networks. We would know people that not necessarily on LinkedIn or don't necessarily put all their information on LinkedIn. And we know that these are either good, and we also know the ones that put a lot on LinkedIn might not necessarily be good. But to a recruiter that's not a specialist, they may just see the words on the paper and put that forward. And that's where we try and differentiate ourselves. And that's why how we sell ourselves to our clients as well.
I think it's difficult, isn't it, as well? LinkedIn is a great tool for, business, recruiting, obviously career, development, etc. But when you've just mentioned there, Adam, as well, sometimes it's difficult to identify what's the real truth on things like platforms like LinkedIn or social media and what isn't quite what, comes up to scratch. So that must be, like you say, your expertise then is a niche in itself for other organisations who are looking for that. Again, I'll go back to it, the top tier sort of talent.
I mean, we're not technical people, we're not developers, but we know enough to be able to identify the people who actually know the product and people who have maybe touched upon it or heard of it. That's kind of like, say, how we would sell ourselves to our...
It's being credible in the market as well, because when we're having conversations with candidates or clients and they recognise that we know what we're talking about and we can go into level of detail that other people that don't specialise in that space can't, other recruiters, for example, that's what they really like. And that's why they would choose to work with us over a more generic agency that don't have a focus in this particular area.
So you mentioned previous as well, James. You said at one point about a bit of a skill shortage in some particular areas as well, and it's hard to find that. So surely, I mean, is that a huge barrier at the moment within the industries that you specialise in?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for example, with Adobe, in the last few years, they've basically launched a new product called AEP, Adobe Experience Platform. And it's an expensive product, and a lot of companies are wanting to invest in it, but then they can't hire the right people to go into the detail with the product. And that's where we come in, because if companies have invested big money and then can't hire, that's going to be an issue. But there is a skill shortage, but it is a growing industry as well, and there's a lot more people who are kind of getting into these particular products or experience with these products. And again, going back to like our database and our networks, that's how we are able to add value to our customers.
Yeah, and Adam, going back to, you've mentioned briefly like MarTech, marketing technology,
Correct,
so going into that as well, but your experience not just in your business but also in your previous careers, how have you seen how that has changed and developed perhaps within the industry at the moment? Is there anything that particularly stands out, or any growing trends perhaps that might be coming about?
Well, from an IT and technical perspective, it's AI. That's what's being thrown at everyone.
At the moment.
It's what a lot of big companies are investing in. It's what a lot of big companies are just saying, just use AI without maybe not even knowing what AI is going to do for them. It's just a trend, but it's definitely going to be what is the future as well. So that's going to be probably the biggest thing. From a recruitment perspective, though, since COVID, the market got really saturated. There was loads of recruitment jobs. And then that bubble kind of burst. And over the past probably 18 months, 2 years, we've seen a lot of entry-level recruiters either leave the industry completely, maybe moving into a different area like teaching, for example. And that seems to have made the actual credibility of the market a little bit better as well. Like people are justifying the use of recruiters, whereas before they were just using them as a means to an end. Now they're actually seeing it as a consultative approach. That's probably the biggest thing that I've seen over the past, like say, 18 months, which was like that prior to COVID, which is good and positive for the industry, I suppose. Yeah.
I was just going to say there and jump in as well. So obviously, you're in the digital space yourself with what you do with the recruitment side of things. But are you saying then, is it right to say that all these sort of advanced technologies have give the recruitment industry a little bit of a boost?
Yeah, especially IT
with agencies.
Yeah, especially with IT recruitment. It's one of them. I suppose the end company has to justify the use of an agency. And if there's a skill shortage, or if you're a genuine expert that can give them advice or analytics around the area, then that is justification in itself, and that's probably the reason why they would use a company such as ours.
Yeah, and I think AI as well. There's obviously a lot of like speculation about, is it people going to lose their jobs? Is there going to be uncertainty around that? But I think in some ways it's benefited recruiters, because I think that sort of human interaction is becoming more and more important at the moment. So we've noticed now that, clients are just loving jumping on video calls, face-to-face meetings. We try and do as much face-to-face as we can, albeit we do a lot of stuff overseas. But I do feel like that the AI has actually made human interaction even more important. That makes sense.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
No, I like that. Yeah, but you're going to add something.
Yeah, I think that's probably where our industry is going to go. I think the lower level sort of resourcing roles could potentially be offshored to AI or in some way. That's obviously got its limitations, because there's not always the data there that AI can pull that maybe a human would have. But that frees up a bit of time. So, for example, when we do calls, we sometimes use AI for note takers during a call, which gives me a lot more face-to-face interaction, because I'm actually focusing on what they are saying rather than jotting notes. And just having that freedom and then putting them notes straight on the system without me having to type it up gives me a lot more time to actually go and network and speak to people, which is where the real value is going to go within the industry. I feel anyway.
No, I like it. I do like what you said there about AI and still having that human interaction. And it was really interesting, James, what you said about it's making that human, again, conversation more and more important, because I've had many conversations in here with different organisations, and the AI think, AI is just taking over, or AI is taking over this. And like you said about job losses. Yeah. So that was a really interesting point, what you said.
Like, I think, after COVID, everybody was working from home, weren't they? There was not really much face-to-face interaction at all during the COVID period. But definitely now, when we're speaking to people about jobs, a lot of people are wanting to get back in the office. It's actually appealing to them if they can get into an office that's relatively local to them. People don't want to be locked up in their homes 5 days a week. I think businesses are starting to understand as well that they're getting a lot more value from their teams. You don't have to be in every single day. It's good to have that flexibility, that hybrid model. But we are noticing that a lot of companies, candidates, people want to be having that face-to-face interaction. And I don't think that'll ever kind of go away, really.
No, we're all human, aren't we? We're still all human.
It's good to get out and have a conversation.
100%. And talking about offices then, we're going to bring it back a little bit now. We're going to talk about where you're based. I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, you are down at Smithfield.
Yes.
You've been there pretty much since you set up, I believe.
Since the first day. Yeah.
The first day.
Yeah.
You're still there now.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, one, obviously, what it's like to set up a business in Stoke-on-Trent, and also being in the middle of Hanley as well, in the environment that you are in down at Smithfield Works.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we wanted an office because, again, we could have, money was tight to start with. We could have just worked from home, had a bedroom business, but that wasn't really how we wanted to start things. We wanted to be in an office environment. We wanted to get out there, meet as many people as we can. And we were looking all over. I found Smithfield, which was perfect for us because it's cost effective. All the costs were all in. It was nice and modern as well. Pretty local. So, our plans are to stay in Stoke-on-Trent.
Okay.
At the moment, obviously, just me and Adam. But in the next couple of years, in the next year, we want to hire a couple of people at least. And we've got plans to kind of build that office in Stoke-on-Trent. There's a lot of talent here. We've worked across a few different companies. We've got really good contacts of recruiters and people within the space. And we think, we'd love to build a successful business in Stoke, where we're from.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We also didn't want to, I know it sounds a bit cheesy, but we actually wanted to build a cool brand. If we were to hire, Why would they want to work for us as opposed to somebody else? Like, they could work for a Manchester-based company, work from home 4 days a week. Why would they want to be coming into the office? And that's kind of what we wanted to do, because when we first started in the industry, we used to have a lot of fun, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because you could bounce off each other in the office, with each other every day, and that's what we want.
Build a really good culture.
That's what we wanted to build here, but also giving the opportunity to make money, travel. Like I said, we do a lot of business globally. Plans to go over to the US. We've already been across Europe, haven't we? So stuff like that. If we can offer that to team members as well, then that's the goal.
And just going back on that, and just to elaborate a little bit as well, then, how have you found it, though, in all honesty, in being based in Stoke-on-Trent and growing a business from scratch?
It's been actually surprisingly really good. Like, we weren't expecting to get so much from it. Like, in the office at Smithfield, we had no idea what other companies would be there, but there's Barclays are there, and we've had exposure to them. We've done a bit of work with them off the back of it. We've had introductions into other companies. Obviously, met yourself, and part of the Chambers of Commerce and all of this stuff that we had no idea about. We've had full exposure to, and if we weren't in an office in Stoke, or where we are, we wouldn't have had any of that. And I think it's really helped us with our business growth as well.
I mean, there's a lot of networking events that happen in Smithfield, but also that Smithfield invite us to, like when we went to
You Talks to Race
and all that, and we won the tickets,
won the raffle.
But even when we're speaking to people that we know, like, we've got a friend who's recently started a business similar to ours. They've also joined Smithfield now, so just word of mouth, we've been able to bring people in and just build that environment and culture as well within that little space. So and
I think Stoke as well, it's a good location. Like, it's easy to get to. We're not too far from the station as well, and there's a lot of good talent. Manchester's not too far. You've got Birmingham, easy to get into. We're pretty central in the country, aren't we? So I think, in terms of growing the business or scaling up in the future, I think there's a lot of easy access of different surrounding areas, as well as in Stoke-on-Trent as well, to build a good business.
Yeah, and I wish you both all the best. I really do, for the future. It's quite exciting to hear your journey and some of the points that you have raised today. And I think starting off anything, on your own and taking that leap, and like you said, you didn't want a bedroom business. I can totally get that. I totally get where you're coming from, and now I can see how that helps with business growth to start with, moving into somewhere again. But that's also an inspiration to other people. So what would you say, if there is anyone out there who is listening to this and have listened to your journey, what would you say to them if they were thinking about it, whatever industry they want to go in? What would you say about starting a business? And I know it's not easy by any means, but what would you say? And again, elaborating again and going back to the importance of keeping talent in Stoke-on-Trent.
Good question. One, I'd probably say be realistic. Like, you see things on LinkedIn, specifically where we are, like people who turn over £1 million in their first year. It's really unrealistic. Like, but then again, go with a plan. Like, if you are going to set it up, have you got the funds there in place? Have you got the network in place? Have you got the support in place from people? Like, family and friends have been really supportive and probably helped us through in times when we've been struggling, or if a deal's closed and you go home, try and leave that part. But there's also got to be a part of have a bit of ambition, like go for it. Like, what's the worst that can happen? If you put 10 grand into it and you lose that 10 grand, is that a safe bet? Is that worth it? Would you say that is worth it to potentially give you freedom for the rest of your life? Because that's what we want to do. We want to build this brand that we can basically live off for until retirement, and who knows, if someone wants to buy it in the future for X amount of money, then drop me a message.
I think
there you go. You never know.
As well, like, if you've got an idea, or if you've built up a career, and you've really identified a particular niche or a particular area, and you've been successful for other people. We've both help build other companies, then you just got to like do your research, make sure you know your market. I think there's a lot of support, with in Stoke-on-Trent as well. We had grants, didn't we, to help us with tech. There's a lot of options out there to help support you as well. And I think like in terms of the city as well, like the people that we've met, everyone's very supportive and they want to help you grow a business in Stoke-on-Trent. So I do think, renting costs for offices isn't too high. Like I say, you can get grants. So if you are thinking about it, I think you don't need to have tens of thousands of pounds there ready to go. Obviously depends on what business you want to go for. But just go for it.
And a lot of that we learned from actually being in Smithfield and speaking to people who've been through similar or even know people who've been through similar sort of journeys. So
you got to put yourself out there.
Don't just do it on your own. Make sure you speak to people, and that's probably helped us setting up together. If I did it on my own, it might have been a little bit different.
It's odd, but James, Adam, thank you so much for coming in on Business Spotlight. I hope you've enjoyed it.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's James Butler and Adam Morray of Purple Digital here on Business Spotlight with me, Sonya Farrell.
Business Spotlight, shining a light on our local business community. Brought to you by Cross Rhythms and Baba Baboon.